We got to work on our sound effects.
Yeah, we'll get some sound effects. All right, coaching hotboard time. Where are you guys at? Josh Heupel's still off my list.
Oh, no, Hyper was never on it.
Is Ryan Day off your list? Dan went out west and came away with a loss.
He did. At one point, lost to Oregon. I think that's a solid Ducks team.
Mudkip, I accept. Well, we got to negotiate the buyout, but I do accept over and over again. I accept.
No, Delatorre has not yet made the hot board. He's not off the hot board, but he's not made the hot board.
You could have the head coach at the University of Florida be on the show weekly.
Will you pay me the same amount to run recruiting operations and NCAA compliance?
We'll negotiate it off air. We'll negotiate your salary off air.
Okay. All right, cool. So Nick is back on the hot board. I think the names are still, we'll still talk, kind of the same names. James Franklin, they had a big win over USC. That USC team just continues to shoot themselves in the foot. This USC team was supposed to potentially make the playoff or at least have a much better season than they're having. I don't know where that puts Lincoln Riley on your board, Corey, but James Franklin's is on the list.
Order, man.
Yeah, James Franklin's on the list. For me, Clark Lee.
You've moved yours into order now?
Yeah, I got it. It's time to get a pecking order, man. I got it.
Okay.
I would take Ryan Day at the University of Florida.
I don't know about Ryan Day. That's like funny money to me. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I think any name that we're gonna list is some funny money.
Ryan Day money might be not even money, might be coupons.
All right.
He's at the cash register with coupons and no cash, so he's getting a discount, but like he still can't pay for it. Like
they're spending coupon on Ryan Day.
He's a screen.
What'd you say?
Extreme couponing. It's a TV show.
Extreme couponing.
You see the vision here, man.
Yeah. Listen, some of these women, on the show get paid to get their groceries. They got so many coupons manufactured.
Yeah, that is nuts. I have seen people walk out with money. I'm like, you have enough toilet paper to last you 7 years, but yes, you are getting paid back.
Yeah.
That's
Ryan Day. Extreme
I don't know what Ryan Day would take. I don't know if Ohio State would ever move off of him. I don't know what that would look like. But Ryan Day, because it was mentioned here, is on the list. He's not yet removed himself off the list.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Ryan Day's his record and his resume looks crazy a little bit, and he has a great staff up there in Ohio State. They spend a lot of money. He has a lot of talent, and I just don't see it. While he wouldn't be a bad hire, I'm not saying that. It's just he's not making my top 5 on my list, and
I mean, you're about to name James Franklin, and Ryan Day is undefeated against James Franklin, I believe.
I'm going to say, listen,
I'm not trying to start controversy here, but I just want to.
James Franklin is going to later this year lose to both Ohio State and Michigan.
I need him to,
and he will be off your list.
No, he's going to stay on the list.
He is not going to lose. Oh, James Franklin, nobody's going to lose to Michigan. Ryan,
I just seen James Franklin actually I've seen James Franklin do bills and be that situation. Vanderbilt, from where they were, going to that Penn State situation with Joe Pye and all that shenanigans and get it to where it's at. He's lost coordinators and have to rehire and still make great hires. That staff is one of the best. He can recruit very well with any logo, I believe. Ryan Day was gifted and handed a program in a situation that he has not really cashed in on, in my opinion. While everybody's, got spots on their resume, but to me, and I don't know what Ryan Day's calling card is in the coach world. Right?
I don't know either. Right. And I want to get to your list here in a second. I don't know either, but he's brought his team to the playoffs when it was 4 teams. I know their schedule is different. The talented teams that he plays are more limited than what you'd play at Florida. But I think that Ryan Day has had a successful tenure at Ohio State. I'm not saying that he would leave and come to Florida. I don't know what Ohio State will do if they're not able to get over the hump this year. James Franklin's also been at Penn State for I think this is year 11 for him or year 10. So trying to poach somebody that's been somewhere for a while, is going to be challenging. Lane Kiffin has a lot of, question marks too. Lincoln Riley now obviously has a lot of question marks too. So you start going down the big names and everybody's going to have those question marks. And somebody here in the comments said beggar can't be choosers. And I don't know if UF is begging. I think that they have a great opportunity. And I think that you've got some great talent, and the right coach, I think, can convince a lot of these guys to stay. And the right coach could be able to convince a lot of guys to come play for you.
Listen, I'll tell you this real quick, Dan, to butt in real quick. I know Florida's not been what it's supposed to be, but I have agents reach out to me, coaches reach out to me. The University of Florida is a destination job for a lot of coaches, especially when we were writing all those, Billy's Army stories. A coach in the Big Ten texted me, "What did Billy do to get this? I would like a quarter of that staff to help me." The amount of money that the blank check really that the UAA gave Billy Napier to run it his way, coaches will jump at that. The University of Florida is putting more resources into football now than they ever have. I get that Florida has not been great. It's a destination job. And I get calls weekly from agents talking about their coaches. And I don't know
they
if that's...
think you're hiring?
No.
Hiring committee? Delatory search firm?
Listen, baby, put me on staff. Negotiate the buyout.
Just trying to bill up some billable hours for their client. Be like, hey, did some reach out on your behalf. Just let me know.
Call hotboard specialist.
$500 an hour calling
people.
Nick.
Listen, agents try to use the media to get raises. And Jimmy Sexton, we talk about, it's Jimmy Sexton's season. It's Drew Rosenhaus season. Whenever the offseason hits, agents want their coach's name on hotboards. They want their names talked about. They want it in the media.
I charge him. Sexton got it.
Yeah, well, he's going to get more. He's going to get more. Jimmy Sexton represents Billy. Also represents Lane. Billy Sexton represents, I would guess, more than 40% of the head coaches.
I think it's more. And then you throw Trace Armstrong in there and everything else. It's very not saturated by a lot of different people. There's a few big boulders in that industry.
Anyway, long-winded was just saying that, for people being like, who would want to come to this disaster? A lot of people.
Well, yeah. I don't think that Florida's not a destination job. And I've said that before when Florida's gone out in their coaching hires. I think that Jim McElwain was a reach at the time. I think Dan Mullen was a safe pick, but it made sense with Scott Strickland coming from Mississippi State. Dan Mullen's history and career at Florida, what he was able to do at Mississippi State. Talk about a dormant program for forever. And then Billy Napier was a very hot name at the time. I wish Florida would have looked at some other people and at least evaluated some other people, but that didn't happen. I still think that Florida is a very good job, but also if you're going to try to convince somebody that's already at a very good job, you've got to figure out what your difference maker is going to be. And I don't know enough about Ohio State or Penn State or Ole Miss and all of these other programs. That's to say almost all programs in college football about what resources they have, what their relationships like to the AD. Do people know that Scott Strickland is generally unliked by the fan base, right? Is his seat potentially viewed as being hot, right? And if you get hired by somebody, what would your next AD relationship look like? Or who might that be? Or who does that person know that might want to bring in his guy for his bell cow for the athletic department? So there's a lot of different things that go into this, not just can we pay him more money and how attractive is Florida, because Florida is a very attractive job when you look at it in kind of a vacuum. But when you look at all the other things that are going on around it, I don't know if it's like a top 5 job. I don't know if it's a top 10 job, top 15 job. I don't know where it is right now.
Yeah, I just think it as far as those top jobs, just matter like top available job. It'd be like about a year. Because like top 5 jobs, 9 times out of 10, those jobs are just aren't available because they got great situations and great coaches and all of that. On the availability, I think we're gonna probably be the top job this offseason.
Yeah.
I don't foresee any other top like coaches getting fired at the top program. So Florida should be the top job this offseason. We'll see how it all plays out. I got James Franklin at the top. He beat Lincoln Riley head to head this weekend. And also James Franklin don't call the offense. Like, you guys got to catch up with your takes. So I think the Penn State offense actually looks totally different. The offense coordinator that I wanted from Kansas, what's his name? What's the dude name? Andy Kotalinki, however you say his name. He's the offensive coordinator now. He came over from Kansas. I think the offense looks totally different from what James Franklin ran. But he just hires well. You know, Manny Diaz was running that defense last year. The defense still is solid. But Manny Diaz goes on to get a head coaching job. So when your coordinators are getting head coaching jobs, you're hiring well. So I like James Franklin at the top, man. He just doesn't put out a bad product. Never had a losing season. Just good stuff.
You're bringing Juwan and Phil with him as well.
Oh, you got to bring the staff, man. He just hires well. Like, he's just one of the better staffs in the country when you look at it from top to bottom. And also, like, just what it is, man. The African-American coach in the state of Florida recruiting on a recruiting trail will be super dynamic, especially with the staff that he has with J1 Sider and all those other guys. Like, recruiting, I don't think it'd be any drop-off from what – I think Napier and those guys can recruit well. Some of these other guys on the list, I think there would be some drop-off in the recruit just to keep it a beam, because these guys can recruit. That's not like kid ourselves a little bit. Rhett Lashley, still, I like what he's doing at SMU, you know. Only thing that scares me about Rhett Lashley, he does call his own plays. I do want my next head coach to eventually delegate the play calling. But not mad at it, man. As long as he comes in and does his things in the first couple of years, and then maybe switch to offensive coordinator, wouldn't mind Rhett Lashley at all. I got it, man. I know. Got it. I had to add Papa. To the list, bro.
That's Curt Cignetti, baby. He just wins games. I don't know if it's Indiana's. I don't know if it's Indiana, if it's him, or if it's their NIL. But they're selling shirts that literally just have a picture of him, like a portrait sketch of him, and just says "I win."
Yeah. Shout out to that boy, man.
Gangster.
Yeah. There's no way with a straight face where I could advocate for Lane Kiffin, who's off my list.
Papa?
Yeah, Papa Cignetti, man. Shout out to that boy. Got to add him to my list, man. We need a winner, bro. If he's gonna get Alzheimer's in 3 years, we got to make it the best 3 years we possibly can with Papa. But I got him on my list.
Dan, I'm sending you the link to the shirt. It's actually Homefield Apparel. You can use our discount code to get the shirt of Silk's grandpa.
Papa Cignetti, man. Add that boy to the list. Recruiting definitely would be a drop off. I think with Rhett Lashley and Cignetti, I just don't think those guys are from the same pedigree on a recruiting trail as Napier and these guys. Just keep it a beam.
There it is, Corey.
I win.
I like it. I asked somebody who covers SMU about Rhett, like, would he be ready for this job? And they mentioned, like, hey, they thought he would want to bring some of his staff with him, which makes sense. But that person didn't know if those staff members at SMU should be staff and assistant coaches at the SEC level. There is some give and take, though. It's like, hey, these guys are comfortable. These guys got me the job. Who do I take with me? I like having the people I know that help me get here around it. We've had success together. Some guys just shouldn't be coaches at the SEC level. He is young. He's a very good recruiter, I think.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of want to see it more. I just saw someone on the timeline being like, hot take, Dan Mullen would be a great recruiter now with an NIL that could out. I just want to know how much NIL is going to change recruiting. And
it's already changed it, but you still got to be likable.
Which Dan is weird. Weird in the living room.
Yeah.
I mean, paying players is just not a new concept, right? And these NIL contracts are
SMU knows that,
right?
knows that well. Speaking of Rhett Lashley.
No, I don't think that Dan Mullen would be a good coach or a good recruiter now. He wasn't a good recruiter then. He wasn't a good recruiter when he was at Florida. He wasn't a good recruiter at Mississippi State. He ended up getting some guys and they ended up rattling off, some wins there, but he was never a fantastic recruiter or a great eye for talent. He chased some stars. He recruited a lot of players that never made it to the University of Florida. So I don't think that that's the case. And I also think a lot of other ADs think that, and that's why nobody's interviewing him for jobs.
Yeah. Cliff Kingsbury, I seen somebody say, we shouldn't limit ourselves to the NFL. I meant to the college football, and I'm not, man. I got Cliff on there. I don't know if he wants to lead the NFL. I also think he may be up for an NFL head coaching job, but I think he's more than qualified to at least be on the list. And there are some, like every coach is going to have this, man. There are some red flags with him from a recruiting standpoint. But if you look at the quarterback tree, what he's put out, I like what he's doing with Jaden Daniels. Out in Washington. It's an impressive offense. I think he's as a young, brilliant mind. I don't think he's hit his prime yet as a coach, as a play caller, any of that. I think his ceiling is way higher than where he's at right now. And I still got Lincoln Riley on there for the same reason. I don't know about that marriage out there. I think they're on the brink of divorce, and there may be a mutual feeling between Lincoln Riley and USC. But while, he played Penn State this week, and there was some questionable just calls down the stretch, time management wise. I was like, what the hell is Lincoln doing? Running the clock out towards the end of the game when you just need to go get points. And he was too focused on trying to drain the clock instead of just putting the game away. And I think they ended up costing them in overtime. But I still like Lincoln Riley's just quarterback development, and that we could keep that ball going. He still puts great staffs together, recruits well. He's just missing some type of edge, or it's just something's missing from him, like on game day. Just not winning the big games and getting over that hump. But I don't think he's at his ceiling. So I still got him on the list, man. Lane Kiffin had to go for the simple fact that when you do your deeper dive on Lane, first off, I don't like his off the field shenanigans. I don't like the professionalism, the lack of professionalism that comes from him, especially with the trolling.
It's gonna come. Like that's part of the package.
Yeah, and I'm cool on that.
I think he's, from what I've been told, he stopped drinking. Like he's grown up a little bit, but like that would be me. I see a lot of like Lane's use of Twitter, Lane's use of social media is a lot of like what I would do as a coach, and I think people would hate me as a coach because like it's funny to him.
You're off the hotboard then.
If it's funny to him, like he's gonna send it. Like that Gator tweet, he sent that I think the week before, and they won, so he sent it again. And like a lot of fans were like, "Oh, he's trolling his fan base by tweeting Gator stuff." It's like he tweeted it. I think he tweeted it because he saw it, and then it worked. And he's like, "All right, well, let's tweet it again." Like I don't think he's intentionally trolling. I don't think he's intentionally trolling there. Maybe the first tweet was, and now it's becoming superstition. But you're going to get that from Lane Kiffin. Like you just are. That's who he is. He's older.
Yeah.
I think Mudkip, it might be my agent. I don't know who they are, but they might actually be hired as my agent soon.
Yeah, people making light of his professionalism. I think it's crazy for him to be trolling and flirting about another job, considering like you got a locker room of guys that you recruited in here. You're in the trenches in the middle of a season. Like the lack of focus is crazy to me. And we've seen him crash out at other stops. The way he left Tennessee was absolutely wild. Getting fired on the tarmac at USC was absolutely wild. The Raiders stop was absolutely wild. And there's just a lot of things with even the Bama situation. The only place he left in a decent way was FAU to go to Ole Miss. And then now you're seeing people saying that he always wanted the Florida job. That means nothing. Like you still have a duty to the players you recruited on your campus. We watched Dan Mullen quit because he wanted an NFL job. And it just gives me that same vibes, bro. Like while you're on the clock with these young men that you recruited in, you have a duty, as a coach, bro. Y'all at war every week, bro. Like that's what football is. And you're flirting and playing games. It's cool when you're winning. Like all of that trolling is all fun and games. But once you start losing, then you get a lot of the message board stuff, and you get the fan base, the boosters talking about pulling back funds and of NIL and recruiting because it's just an unserious situation, man. So that part of it is why I just don't feel Lane. I just don't think Lane's serious. I think his potential is high, but I don't think he's a serious head coach, bro.
Lane needs real quick, Dan. Lane needs a great collective, and Lane needs the university administration that he's at to understand that paying players through revenue sharing is not all you need. You will need more money than whatever the university can pay players based on the revenue sharing split. I don't know that he will have that at Florida. But Lane needs that, or else he's Dan Mullen with a better Twitter account.
That's facts. I do like Bill O'Brien as well. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't mind adding that name to the list.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien.
I just watched a clip of his last press conference. I'm out, baby.
Yeah.
From a work perspective, I'm out.
Did you talk too fast?
I mean, he talks fast, but he was also kind of like, well, some of it was funny, but he was just like, I think they lost, and he was like pissed that they lost, but like, my guy, you're getting paid $5-6 million. You don't need to be like angry at the media for asking you questions after you lost a game. And I get emotions are high after a game.
Your Boston College Twitter got to their beat writer.
You got emotions? You got emotions?
Yeah.
Sign me up if you got emotions. I'll take the emotions, man.
I'm out on Bill.
Not a lot of names.
You would get your strength coordinator back.
Where did this idea that Florida is Lane Kiffin's dream job come from? That's not what I've ever heard, and I feel like that's a rumor.
I thought it was USC.
Yeah, no, I've not ever heard that ever be actually substantiated. What I've heard is that a job like Florida would be appealing to Lane Kiffin because of the job that Florida could be, but not that Lane Kiffin has this like magical affinity towards the University of Florida.
Well, I think his affinity was to Spurrier. Like he grew up going to like Spurrier, like the football camps. I think his dad
was Monty Kiffin with the Bucs
with Tampa.
Yeah.
And he was in Tampa as a kid and would go to like camps at Florida. And I think his affinity was his affinity for the University of Florida came through Spurrier, which you can say that for a number of coaches. I mean, Dan Mullen wears, visors because of Steve Spurrier. There's coaches all across the country. But yeah, Lane was a huge Spurrier fan. I think his son is a Gator fan.
His mom went to UF.
Layla.
Her dad played football at the University of Florida. I don't know if there's like this mass. I feel like that gets talked about all the time, that Lane Kiffin's dream job is University of Florida. I've never heard that be substantiated by people that actually know Lane Kiffin.
I got into this with some people, like outside of somebody who went to Florida, like these people this is their profession.
It's a profession, right?
I got into somebody with it today. They're like, Billy isn't a Gator. He doesn't care about Florida. I'm like Dan didn't care about Florida either time he came. Like it was a next job. It was the next job. It was the next thing. Like outside of Steve Spurrier or like Jed Fish went to the University of Florida as a non-athlete because he wanted to eventually coach for Steve Spurrier. Someone like that, unless you played at Florida or went to Florida, I don't think you're coming here because Florida is your dream job.
Yeah.
You're coming here because it's a great career move.
Right.
You can embrace, like Urban Meyer was a hired mercenary, but he embraced Florida's traditions, created some new traditions. But at the end of the day, Ohio State was his dream job growing up in Ohio, or as an Irish Catholic, maybe Notre Dame, but he picked Florida over Notre Dame because it was a better career move. But like, you're not like the dream job. Every coach is going to say, this is my dream job because it gets you a first down, if not a touchdown, when they start scoring the opening press conference. But like, there's not a coach that will be available outside of Jed Fish, which is going to cost you a ton of money.
I don't want Jed Fish either.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that he should be the guy.
I'm just letting you know that he's not on my hot board.
I'm letting you know that he was removed from the hot board.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think when Kiffin left the Tennessee job to USC, if I remember correctly back then, he said that was the only job that he would have left Tennessee that 1 year out there. And he does come from the Norm Child tree. That's where he learned most of his football was under that tree out there. And the Florida thing to me was always fairly new. I know once he got into FAU, he understands what recruiting is and flagship of University of Florida. It just makes a lot of sense. I think he would have took the Florida State job last year if it was offered with the right check. I think he wanted the Miami job when that became available, and then with Cristobal, he wanted us last time. Like Florida, the big three jobs are still you're still in the state of Florida, bro. Like you're in the mecca of football.
Yeah, I don't know. lot of moving pieces, right? Florida still has a head coach right now, so we're going to continue to kind of break down who are those names and what do those names look like for the future at the University of Florida, right? We're gonna continue to root and cheer this to. Well, Corey and I will. Nick, I know that you have to be unbiased in the press room there, but we're gonna root and cheer Florida on, right? We're going to give them their flowers when they do well. We'll be critical, especially of the coaching staff when things don't go their way. There's been ups and downs during this roller coaster of Billy Napier. There's been, opportunities that we feel like Florida's had to have a better record than they have now. And at the end of the day, I saw your comment there, Dave. Thanks for listening. Florida played a top 10 team to another loss, right? You can say, oh, Florida did well and they took them to overtime, but Florida has lost again. Florida has one win over their rivals in 2.5 seasons under Billy Napier. Florida is 3 games under 500 under Billy Napier. Billy Napier has won 7 games against SEC opponents in 2.5 years. That's not good.
Not good, Bob.
Not good. We got a super chat. Oda, the next coach, will be Jamie Chatwell out of Liberty. I called it at the beginning of the process, and the UAA is dumb enough to follow through. Appreciate that super chat. Anthony, we missed these earlier. If we lose to Kentucky, fire Billy on the damn field. Don't let him have a press conference. Nick, in the contract, do they immediately confiscate the car? Would you have to drive home with Allie, or how would that? No,
I'll drive it.
I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
Corey,
Billy
they
Napier
Flow Factory merch out.
Flow Factory
that
merch.
should be out next week, man. Sit tight. Website been kicking my ass, brother, but it'll be out soon. Got you.
So Billy Napier, like you said, Dan, is 7-12 in 2+ seasons in his third season. Steve Spurrier also lost 12 games in the SEC. But yeah, he also won 82. Dan Mullen lost 14 in 3+ years. So,
bro, stop it with the Billy shit, man. Billy's terrible. Let's cut this. Let's not even have this argument. The 5 fans that Billy still has. The guy in the comments, man, David, man, I love you to death, brother. I don't even have no slander back. I know you slandered me and Dan, or all 3 of us. You slandered us, but I have no slander back towards you, David. I'm pretty sure you're a great guy in real life.
He's a great guy in real life, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is, man. Look at that profile picture, man. It looks wholesome. But Billy is a terrible coach, and he's a nice Christian brother. That's nice. I would love to have a Bible study with him one day. But on Saturdays, when we lace up, we need a killer out there for our team. These players deserve a competent product, a real offense, bro. Like, we had 3 points at half, and we dominated. That's like elite clown show action right there, bro. You can't get better clown action than that, bro. That's Homer Simpson. That's Bozo. That is like elite shit show material. Get that guy out of here. Let's stop the charades, man. It's over.
Yeah, and I think the prevailing thought, we've been going on for a while, and so we can probably wrap up. I think the prevailing thought isn't just that the team is losing, it's how they've lost. It's the ways in which they've lost.
Yes.
It's the issues that they continue to have organizationally. It's continued issues that they have in recruiting and development. There's a lot of issues that the University of Florida has right now, and you could make this debate happen all the time, right? With any coach, right? Like, maybe next year is the year, maybe the year after that. At some point in time, you have to look back at what you have as proof over the last 2.5 years. And right now, there is nothing that has shown that Florida is going to be a significantly better program next year with Billy Napier, or a year after that with Billy Napier. It just doesn't look that way.
We got 2 offensive line coaches. We got 2 defensive coordinators. We don't have a play caller. Like, this staff is set up all type of crazy and upside down. It's a real clown show. It's time to end this. Yeah. Like, there's no way to fix this staff. Like, we still need a play caller. We got offensive coordinators that don't call plays. that has just titles. You have defensive coordinators that don't really call the defense because you made bad hires. I still don't believe in the strength and conditioning program. I don't care what nobody says, man. Like, I'm not believing in it from top to bottom. There's a lot that needs to change. And this guy had 3 years to make some significant changes and haven't made any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and and it's not a loss to Tennessee that put any of us over this hump, right? You look at things over the duration of the last 2.5 years, and not just on the football field, in recruiting and in operations and in hiring and in development and everything. And right now, I don't know if you can say Florida is in a better spot today than they were 2.5 years ago.
I think the roster's better.
Nick, they're about to go their third year under 500.
I get that. Yes.
And you can say the roster is better, but at the end of the day, you have to win games with the roster, right? And if it's not the roster of players that you have, then it's the coaching staff, which to me then says either you don't have as good of a roster as you said, or you're not doing a good enough job coaching those guys to win football games.
That's it. Yes, I think the roster is better. I think and I agree that they said this is the best roster we've had in 3 years. I agree, which means something is happening from either developing, game planning, or calling on Saturdays. Because I do agree that this is the best roster.
Yeah, you can see it when they had Dan Mullen players. We saw like, oh man, these guys just not good. But now we're seeing, even when we lose, like, nah, bro, we got some guys. We got some football players out there. Like, this shit ain't adding up.
Hey, but put Dwayne up there for me. I got a lot of haters on Saturday.
From an earlier point in the program, I want to know when that part was, but thank you, Nick. You consistently talk with sense and not an I hate Billy disposition. I don't think any of us hate Billy Napier. No, I think that we appreciated him coming on the show. We've had opportunities to interview him. He seems like a great dude, right? I mean, I've only interacted with him in a professional standpoint. He seems to be. I want to do a Bible study with him. Seems great. But at the end of the day, right now, Florida is just not in a spot to be able to compete for even top 25, top 20. I don't even know what the ceiling is.
He's at it, brother.
Florida right now.
He is at it. It's nothing personal. Like, we supported this guy. I supported Billy, I call it playing. I wasn't going to be one of those guys that in year 1, year 2, talking about fire him, because that's just not realistic. And I like to operate from a logical standpoint. So I wasn't going to be on Twitter all day just tweeting, hey, fire this guy, fire this guy, fire this guy. No, I'm going to go touch grass. I got better things to do than to repeatedly preach about something that wasn't going to happen. So that wasn't this podcast. We always kept things from a positive perspective, a patient perspective, try to let things play out. Mm-hmm. And as they play out, I said it preseason, if we lost to Miami, it was going to probably be downhill from there. And that's what we've been letting it play out. And we're in year 3. We all want to go enjoy Gator football. Like, I went to the Miami game, didn't want to go back to the city again, man, just because it's not an enjoyable product, man. You go spend a lot of money to go to Gainesville to get a product that's just not good. So it's not personal. And I'm going to cheer for every coach we ever hire. Mm-hmm. I cheer for the logo, not for these coaches, man. So when the coach is not performing, I have no loyalty towards them. My loyalty is towards the logo. And they just not winning. It's time to move on.
Roster's better. Barone said structure's better. I don't know if structure is better. I think they have a lot more people. But I don't know if the structure is any better. Right, like that you've got 2/3 more staff than Dan Mullen had, but I don't know what that structure is. Right, you would think if you had all of these individuals that were involved, you would see some improvement. Right, you haven't seen improvement in the offense. You haven't seen improvement in game day calling, feel for the game. You haven't seen a lot of those changes that everybody was hoping that hiring all of these people would bring. You're just not seeing that. And you can have some of the greatest and highest paid names in your recruiting office that deal with compliance and setting up visits and all of that stuff. But none of this is now translating over, right? Florida lost. They ended up finishing okay, right? I think 10 or 11 in recruiting rankings last year. They were at number 3 like 3 weeks before. right? Florida is now just not in a position where they are putting themselves to be competitive on the football field. And it's not just the players, right? There's some deficiencies in the play from the players, but right now it's you continuously shooting yourself in the foot. And at some point in time, you have to say, you've got to make a change because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And like, maybe it happens in year 1, or then maybe it happens again in year 2. But the fact that you're still making the same errors and mistakes in year 3 and it's not getting any better, that's what has us scratching our head, Dave. It's not that we're hating on Billy Napier. There's no reason to hate on him as an individual or as a person. We just don't think the University of Florida football program now is better under his leadership, no matter how many people that he's hired, no matter how great the graphics and the videos that they put out are. When it comes to play calling, he's 3 games under 500 and has 1 win against a rival. That's it.
The videos be fire. I hope we keep that staff, man. They be having me ready to lie every week. I ain't gonna lie to you. Shout out to the video staff, man. Cinematic.
That guy came with Billy.
I thought it was Jordan Harold. That's the Harold.
Jordan's
right?
Still pictures. He's the
Miss
I think he's the lead of creative.
Is
lead
it
of creative. Randy does video. He's definitely part of it, but I'm blanking on the guy's name. It was the guy that does the Journey videos after the games.
I love Journey, man.
The guy that does the Journey videos after the games came with him. I think Randy for sure. Shout out to Randy. Randy definitely helps.
Randy's great.
We'll try to keep him over, man. He don't need to follow Billy to